Hello everyone, welcome to our recording today on home to school transport and independent travel training. And I'm really pleased to be joined by Gerry from Surrey County Council and Cheryl from Surrey Choices. Thank you both so much for being here today. They've very bravely, I guess, for doing a recording. They're never comfortable, are they? But agreed to answer some questions that we've had, specifically around transitions from primary to secondary and sort of beyond, really, as that's what our event is on this year. So first of all, if I get you both to introduce yourselves. So Cheryl, did you want to introduce yourself first?
Yes, hi. Yeah, thank you. So as you said, my name is Cheryl Knight, and I'm the manager for Surrey Choices, Travel Choices, Independent Travel Training Team.
Brilliant, thank you so much. And Gerry, did you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Leanne. So my name's Gerry Hughes. I am the head of business support and our Surrey School Traveller and Assessment team. And thank you so much for having me at this session today. And I'm really hopeful that this Q&A session will be really useful to the families that you support. I just wanted to say a little bit before we start and embark on the questions, but I know that you're sort of critically aware that we've had significant challenges over the last sort of 3 months and longer, really, which has impacted the service we've been able to provide to our families. This is a result of a significant increase in applications coming through the system in September and October, which has really flooded the limited resource that we have. But the great news is that we've addressed that issue and we've had a review within our sort of staffing levels, as well as looking to streamline our services. And that's going to ensure that we do much better next year. And I really look forward to receiving some really positive feedback from you and the families that we serve. So everything crossed that we're moving forward in a very positive way.
Brilliant, thank you so much, Gerry. And I think that's really important that we've addressed that, and there is, you know, lots and lots going on in the background, and you know, there will be further communications that we'll be able to put out to families on you know, on progress and that kind of thing in the very near future. So thank you. Okay, so let's crack on with our questions that we've had in. So I think what's the best thing to do is if I start with you, Gerry, because we've got sort of 2 sets of questions that are, you know, that will be more specific to each of you. So if we start with you, if that's okay, that would be fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So the first question is, when do parents need to apply for transport if their child is moving from primary to secondary school?
So I guess the quick and easy answer to that is as soon as possible once a placement is confirmed. The final deadline for applications for September 23 will be agreed and it will be published sort of fairly shortly, really. But just for information, that the deadline for September 22, the release date for that, or the deadline date for that, was the 6th of May. So it gives you a bit of an understanding about the sorts of deadlines that we're looking at, but we will be publishing that really soon.
Brilliant, thank you so much. And how do parents know if they're eligible for transport? That's something we get asked quite a lot. It's probably quite a tricky question.
I can imagine, and we've done quite a lot of work to try and improve our sort of website and our web presence. But the travel assistance policy details the criteria used to assess eligibility, and it is available on the council website. And I'm assuming, Leanne, that we can share these links as part
Absolutely.
of your webinar.
Absolutely.
There is a summary along with an online eligibility checker on our website as well, so that would be really helpful. But of course, we're really happy to receive emails through the contact points on the website if people have got queries or questions about that.
Brilliant, thank you. And where can parents find out more about the home to school transport and sort of the process around it?
Yeah, so again, information's on our website. We've got several pages there. We've got some sort of helpful guides around that information. But if families, and of course, everything is specific to families. So if people have specific queries, they can certainly contact us. And there is a contact us on that website, so people can easily get our email address.
Brilliant, thank you. And then another question that we get quite a lot is once it's been agreed that a child is eligible for transport, when will they find out the specific transport arrangements for their child?
So in normal circumstances, the usual timescale for applications that are made outside of September start process, so in-year applications, it's 30 working days from the date that the application is received until travel assistance is in place, if obviously our families are eligible. Excuse me. There will be instances where it might take slightly longer, and these are particular cases where maybe medical advice is required, or further information is needed, or that we need to order specific equipment to transport our children really safely. So that's when we could see delays within the system. But applications for travel assistance to start the new academic year are dealt with a bit differently, because all transport to every education setting, and we have around 700 education settings, has to be reviewed every summer. And that's to account for children coming off and going to different schools and new starters. So we do this task school by school, because what we want to do is we want to be as cost effective as possible, and of course to make sure that we have the right transport in place to get our children to those education settings. So by doing that, we undertake the majority of that in July, so that parents have sufficient time to prepare their children. This leaves us the remainder of the summer break to deal with the applications for those children that are 16 years and older, and that they're going to further education. So we can obviously look at those cases and make sure that we obviously have transport in place. Having said that, and we've seen it obviously this year, with the review process can be affected by the large numbers of requests that we get. And although they might be deemed late requests, they're not late because the families have given us the information late. It's because we've been maybe waiting on tribunal information, or that just placements were just made sort of late in the day. It doesn't help us that obviously schools close down during August, which means that we get that deluge during sort of September time.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. Thank you. And I think it's really important to touch on that, because quite often parents do apply late, but it is because they haven't got the school placement. So it's good to hear, you know, the sort of process behind it. And an important question for this particular sort of transition period. So if a child has transport at primary school, will that mean that they definitely get it for secondary school?
Sadly, not always, because if a child does change school, then a new application is required. So we can just assess that eligibility criteria, because there's different factors that mean that, you know, children may or may not be able to access transport.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think it's really important to sort of say, you know, you need to, it's the reapplying, isn't it? Because sometimes I guess it can be quite confusing as a parent, can't it? If you've got that transfer, when you've had it all through primary, and then you get to secondary, and it's a whole new sort of thing.
Absolutely,
so,
yes.
And again, at the same similar question. So if a child had a passenger assistant in their primary school, and then would that mean that they would get that again in secondary school?
So again, sadly, not necessarily. The requirement for a passenger assistance will be regularly reviewed, and that will take part of the application process.
Brilliant, thank you. Now another question, and this is something we do hear a lot because of the nature of our families, and you know, all our children have got additional needs. So what happens if a child is very anxious about transport, especially to a new school? What kind of support could be offered?
So it's a really dear question actually to me, Leanne, because although I didn't have special educational needs, I was really anxious about travelling and getting the bus to and from places. And I know that an awful lot of children are in the same boat. So we aim to have transport details available to families in plenty of time to allow any necessary preparations. So we can have the operators do a meet and greet session at their home, and we can help them by offering sort of details such as photos of the vehicle, and it is going to be dependent on individual needs. I guess another part of this, and it links in really nicely with Cheryl and the work that she's doing, if children are incredibly anxious and actually just need a little bit of hand holding, we cannot obviously offer independent travel training as part of that process, but Cheryl's going to talk about that in a little while. But you know what, I really understand that there is an awful lot of anxiety out there about, you know, new transport arrangements and any change. So yeah, we do try and do as much as we can with regard to meeting the operators.
Brilliant, thank you. No, that's really reassuring. It's going to a new school is just, it's frightening, isn't it? Especially from the primary to secondary. And I think that's what has come up, you know, the whole purpose of our event really is that, you know, thinking about all the things you can do to, you know, prepare and that kind of thing. Because it's, I mean,
changing schools and meeting new teachers is really difficult for our children. I mean, I can remember it really well. And, you know, there is some high degree of anxiety out there. So I totally get that, I really do.
No, definitely. And in terms of the journey times, how long would the maximum journey be? Because I know it changes from when they're sort of the journey time within primary and then the journey time in secondary. So what would the maximum journey look like, look like?
We aim to plan our routes within the recommended maximum each way journey times, which is 45 minutes for primary age children and 75 minutes for a secondary age child. I mean, we were talking earlier about the weather out there and how long it takes, you know, to get through. So given the vets, we've got some children with very long distances that they have to travel, because some of our placements that are, you know, specific to that child's needs could be a long way away. So we do have to take into consideration, obviously, traffic congestion, and timings can't be guaranteed, but that is the guideline in which that we try to deal with. So 45 minutes for primary and 75 minutes for secondary age children.
Brilliant, thank you. And another question that comes up a lot, especially if a family hasn't possibly used transport before or experienced it before, you know, will their child be travelling with other children, and will those children all be from the same school?
So generally, I think that most pupils on shared transport will be going to the same school or venue, but in some circumstances where a school is very, very close, then we may serve two schools on one transport arrangement, but it's not normally the norm for us to do that.
No, that's good to know, thank you. And this to me, I totally get this as a parent, you know, thinking about that is, you know, if your child's going on transport, you sort of hand them over to transport and then you think, oh, you know, have they got there okay? So how as a parent will you know that your child has arrived safely at school?
Yeah, and this is one that's quite close to my heart. So I've been with the travel team for the last 7 months, and this is one of the new initiatives that we want to take forward for next year. So currently there is no process for notifying families that a child has arrived. And actually, I really want to know that. Yeah. And I suppose I'm a visual person and I like to think about, well, what could that look like? And we are looking to develop a parent app that's a little bit like, I guess, not quite the same, but that's a little bit like Uber. And, you know, you can see little cars journeying through roads and things like that. And actually, I would love to have a parent app where you can map your child's journey right the way to school, so you have the assurances that they've arrived safely, or that they're stuck in traffic, or sort of any of those things. And we can use that parent app in a very different way to alert people to all sorts of things like snow, or if an operator is broken down, or all those sorts of things. So I think that would be really invaluable for us to have something like that. But I take that one on board because I'd want to know where they are.
No, that sounds amazing if something like that could be, because I guess on the way home as well, you know, just thinking about that, if the child hasn't arrived home by the time that they normally do, it starts to, you know, you can't contact anyone because you don't know where they are, and it's that's right. You know, so I use Live 360 on my own children. Yes, I do. Yes.
I'm gonna put the pizza in the oven when they're 5 minutes away.
Oh, so yeah, well, we look forward to hearing how that idea develops. That sounds exciting. Brilliant. And the next question is what can parents do to prepare their child for starting home to school transport?
So yeah, it's a difficult one, and we acknowledge that every child is really different, and would encourage families to share their knowledge of their child with a transport provider. So this would include details around their needs and behaviours and techniques that the family has used to be able to sort of support and give the driver and or passenger assistants a better understanding of that behaviour or that child's needs, really, to provide a real safe and comfortable journey for everybody.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And then thinking about, so if a parent decides that to take their child, transport them themselves, so if the child's eligible for transport and they choose to take them, will they get reimbursed for that? And how is this calculated, and how many journeys does that cover? Is it for the 4 journeys per day?
So as Leanne, you and I have spoken about this at length, and if your child is eligible for travel assistance and you would prefer to take them yourself, then it will be agreed, because it is one of the most cost-effective ways and most cost-effective options. The reimbursement rates are paid in line with Her Majesty's revenue and custom rates, and the trips as per Ombudsman guidelines are currently at 45p for 2 or 4 trips per day, and that's based on the shortest road distance between home and school or college. And we do try and encourage our families to take independent travel allowances. Now, we are currently reviewing this area of the policy, because it is a bit of a grey area whether you get 2 trips or 4 trips. Where we absolutely insist, because for driver shortages or anything that's out of our control, we would absolutely pay 4 trips. But for people that opt to take their children, then we have been paying 2 trips. Now, there's a big controversy about that, and actually I feel that it's probably not correct, and that we're currently reviewing this area of the policy to offer fairness totally across the board to all of our families, and offering a standard 4 journey for all. Excuse me.
That's really good. That's really reassuring to hear, because I think, as we know, this has been quite a big topic this year particularly, and I guess it's really highlighted some of the areas that, you know, have been particularly challenging. So it's really great to hear that is being addressed. So thank you for confirming that. And obviously, you know, as that develops, we will, you know, communicate that out to families as well. And then another question that we get quite a lot is, how can a parent contact the transport team?
So there are various ways to contact us, and the details are through our website. So there'll be phone numbers to our contact centre, as well as our email address. Now, I know that previously probably some parents have struggled to get through with emails, but we've got a new system in place now, so you will get a response really quickly.
Brilliant. That's really good to hear. And actually, I used the email earlier this year, and I did get a really quick response where historically I hadn't. So that was really reassuring. And I think the last question for you, Gerry, at the moment is, what happens if things go wrong, and who can parents contact?
So yeah, it's important. If you've got any concerns about child travel arrangements, then do contact us in the first instance. Sadly, things do happen and things do come wrong, but I know that sometimes parents contact the school, sometimes they go direct to the operator, but we can do all of that under one if we're contacted direct. So on the website, there are various channels that you can contact us through, and then we will direct the query to the most appropriate officer. But of course, when it comes to a safeguarding issue, these are priorities for us, and we need to know as soon as humanly possible so we can rectify that situation. Okay,
brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gerry. That was brilliant. And I know there's a lot of information in there that will be very, very useful to families going through this transition period. So Cheryl, my questions now are very much over to you, really, because obviously you lead on the independent travel training, which we're going to find out a lot more about now. So the first question really is, what is independent travel training?
Well, that's the big question. So independent travel training is tailored and practical help for young people with special needs. We assist them to travel by public transport. It could be on foot or even by bike if that's what they would like to. It gives them also the confidence to be able to travel independently between their school or their college, and obviously ultimately they'll be able to use those skills to travel to clubs or other community events as well. And it really is a crucial life skill. helps to give them freedom as well, and that sense of independence and being able to just do something for themselves and not have to rely on someone to drive them everywhere, which a lot of our children, that was a big plus for them. They didn't have to always wait for mum or dad or someone to take them somewhere. They could do these things for themselves.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think it's as they get into this kind of age, it's important, isn't it, that they start to develop that independence and, you know, learn these skills and have support to learn these skills, which is you know, why this is so great. And how can a parent find out more about independent travel training and find out whether it might be suitable for their young person?
So families can inquire through Surrey County Council through their transport team, and they will put them in touch with us. They can also speak to their caseworkers. Their caseworkers know about us too, and we often get referrals from caseworkers as well. Or you can come to us directly. If they look up Surrey Choices online and go onto our website, we've got details on there all about travel training as well. As far as whether it be suitable for them, once we've made contact with the family, we arrange to have an informal assessment with them. We can either do that over Zoom like this, if some people prefer, or we're happy to go and meet people face to face. We'll then have a little assessment with the family and with the child, really to find out what skills the child already has and what things they can do for themselves and what things we can build upon. Also, obviously gives the child a chance to meet us, because it's a little bit daunting having to go out with people we've never met before, we've never seen before. So we'll often go along with 2 travel coaches, just so that if one of us can't make it one day, they haven't got a stranger turning up on their doorstep. They've always got someone who they've met before who takes them out. And then from that point, we'll progress to having a trial journey, where we'll go out on a trial journey with the young person and see how they get on. If all those boxes are ticked and that all works, then we'll put together an independent travel training plan for that child.
Brilliant. That sounds really, really great. And how old do children have to be to start the training programme?
So we work with children from secondary, so from 11 and up, which is quite often, like you were talking about, Gerry, that progression from primary school to secondary school. Yeah. That's a big moment, and going to a different school with different people, and quite often a much bigger school. So that's quite a crucial age. So we work with 11 to 25, because we actually work with students right up through college age as well.
Brilliant. And how does it work? Is it for journeys to and from school, and you know what's the kind of process of how it works?
Yeah, so yeah, as you correctly said, it's from to and from school or from college or their place of education. And as I mentioned, we start by assessing the young person. And actually, even before that point, we will assess the route. So our assigned travel coach will go and travel that route on their own without the child, to risk assess that route as well, look for the safer places to cross, and make sure that they're aware of all the landmarks and you know, where they need to press the bell to get off the bus, so that when they actually do make the journey with the travel coach or with the young person, the travel coach knows exactly what they're doing and where they're going. We'll also look at potential alternative routes as well, because things go wrong, train strikes and road closures, and like today, floods in the roads. Yes. All these kind of things happen. So we'll make sure that the travel coach is fully aware of all the other alternatives and other different ways of travelling. As I said, we begin by fully supporting the young person. So on day 1, we would actually go to the young person's house, take them from home, either to the bus stop or the train station, or by walking with them. And we'll take them right the way through to their place of education. Our travel coach will either wait at the school or college, we can work from there, or we will then come back again at the end of the day, and then we will assist them to get home again. We also understand that it may not be very cool to be seen travelling with us. We get that, you know, not all kids want to stand out on the bus as having somebody with them, you know, and we're very aware of that. So we can be very subtle about that, and we can sit separately from the young person as well, and we can shadow them from a distance. But it really does help them to know that actually we are there. If they need us, then we can be there to help them. We keep reports and we monitor the child's progress as well as we go along. Obviously, we incorporate into this as well some road safety skills as well. There may be a number of roads or different things the children have to accomplish to get to their bus or their train. And as we go along, as I say, we monitor their progress. And as we start to see that there is some progress, and when we and the young person and their families feel that we are starting to see some development, we will then start taking a few steps back. So it may be that we don't meet them at home, we meet them part way, or it may be that the travel coach which is already on the bus when they get on it. So we're there and we can kind of signify that we're here, and they'll do the next part of the journey on their own. And we build that up until the point where we're literally just perhaps meeting them at the end of the journey, or we can even do that remotely with our phones. Joe mentioned before about having an app. We kind of do something a little bit like that. We might have a WhatsApp group with them or with the family, and they can let us know when they're at school or when they've safely arrived. We can be on hand, we can be in the area just in case something does go wrong, but we can be around just to make sure that that they have got there safely.
Brilliant. Well, it sounds so supportive. It's really brilliant, and great to hear that that this is out there. And you mentioned the communication with the family, but one of the questions that parents will inevitably want to know is, will the trainer work with the parents as well as the child or young person?
Yeah, absolutely. So the assigned travel coach will work with that family and have constant email contact and phone contact with them. And at the end of each journey, we'll report back to the parents as well to say how that journey's gone. If the parents want us to, we can do that at every stage. We can just drop them a quick message to say, little Johnny has safely arrived at school, and just let them know. And then we'll perhaps message again to say, just to confirm that we will be there at 3 o'clock to pick them up again. We do have quite a lot of conversations with the parents, even during the day, because the parents may ring us and say, sorry, they've decided to stay at homework club, is that okay? Or they decided not to go to PE tonight, can you pick them up earlier? So we do have very constant emails and phone call contact with the parents just to keep us all updated. And of course, we do have face-to-face contact as well. Potentially when we pick them up in the mornings or when we take the child home at night, we'll quite often stop and have a chat with them then, just to give them an update on their progress. And we do end up building up quite nice relationships with the families and children as well. So I think that's important for the families to know who their kids are out with, and to know.
No, absolutely. No, it's brilliant. And how long would you expect the training to last for?
Oh, well, I see. That's the big question. So it's completely bespoke. It really is. I mean, some children might only need one session, really, and others could take, several weeks or even several months. It's completely individual, and we wouldn't put any time frame on that. I mean, if it got to a point where they've been training for really months and months and months, we may look at that again and then review perhaps what changes we need to make, or maybe that might need to be something we come back to at a later stage, perhaps when they're a bit older. But I mean, average, I would say, if I had to put a time on average, I would say between 6 and 8 weeks is about the time frame.
Yeah, brilliant. And I guess another question is, what happens if a child, starts the travel training, but just isn't able to cope with it?
So we would potentially we wouldn't just give up straight away. We would perhaps look at other ways of making it easier for them. So we could break the journey down into smaller sections if possible. So maybe if doing the whole journey is too much for them, we might just do the walking part of the journey, or the parents might drive them as far as the bus stop and we'll just do the bus stop or the train part of it. So we would explore all avenues, first of all, of how we could make that make it a little bit easier for them. We also, in the past, had quite successful situations where we've involved the school, and the school have actually allowed the child to have time out from lessons to go and do some travel training during the day, a less busy time, because obviously rush hour at the beginning of the day, it's very busy, crowded trains and lots of loud noises. That's not I can make it more difficult for a child, more of a challenge. So we've had time out during the day where we've travel trained at that point where it's a bit quieter, and also school holidays, that's worked really well. So through the summer holidays, we were going to the children's homes. We were taking the kids literally just into town for a hot chocolate or a McDonald's, which funnily enough is a lot more appealing than going to school. But it still gave them that practice of going on a train and feeling comfortable, or out on the bus and feeling comfortable out in the community, and we found that worked really well.
Brilliant. No, that sounds really great. And so if a child has sort of, I guess, progressed quite well along the travel training journey, and was doing, coping with it, but then starts to struggle, can they get support again? I'm just thinking if they've gone through the training and then they've probably been signed off, or however it works, and then they struggle, can they get back and get some support after that?
Absolutely, yeah. So we keep in contact with our families who we've signed off as well. It's actually really nice to get back in touch with them again and find out how they're all getting on. So we do have regular feedback with the families we've supported. If they do need more support, we're able to go back and help them again. Sometimes there may have been something that's happened. There may have been something on the bus that made them, have a bit of a wobble one day. So then we can perhaps go back in if need be and help them out if they need that support.
Brilliant. No, that's brilliant. And another question, this might be a question for both you and Gerry, but can parents have, not parents, can the young person have a combination of transport and independent travel training?
So yeah, I might be best to answer that one, Leanne. So of course we would bespoke all of our travel arrangements, and yes, there will be occasions whereby potentially a family want to undertake travel training, but it might not be. It might be that our transport is in place before the travel training can happen. So we would look to do different things in that situation. It's really great to hear, Cheryl. I mean, we work closely with Surrey Choices anyway, and it's great to hear what Cheryl has to say. And actually, this is about supporting our children into adulthood. It's not just about getting them to and from school. And there have been some appeals recently that through eligibility criteria that have been declined. But actually, to support that young person, I have been offering independent travel training with a free bus pass for a year afterwards, because it's just such a valuable lesson for our children. And I think that's money well spent if we can get them into a more independent way of way of working. So, and actually, where it really doesn't work, or travel training is just not for that child and they are eligible, then of course we would look to do something different for the future for them. So but yeah, it's really lovely to hear what Cheryl has to say, because I'm just so excited by that, and working much more in collaboration with the Surrey Choices team.
Yeah, no, I completely, it's so wonderful to hear, and I know actually my eldest is actually with Surrey Choices in the Future Choice programme and is doing some independent travel training, and I know how supportive that you all are, and how the process is so thought out for each individual. It's brilliant. So so it's great to hear that it's available to families, and it's that young person going on that sort of journey, preparing for adulthood and just thinking about all the different stages, if it's right for them, of course. Which is just brilliant. Well, that brings me to the end of my questions. Thank you both so much. I feel like I've got a load of information here that I know will be really helpful for families going through that quite often confusing process of with all the changes going on. This is really helpful. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Leanne.